In members, first item, apologies for absence.
Ellsbury.
Councillor Ellsbury. Others? Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Thank you. Announcements? No, I haven't any announcements. Receive the minutes of the HR and Equalities meeting. Would somebody?
Well, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Seconded.
Councillor Hussey is indicating.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I don't seem to be on the list for attendees, absences or apologies, but I think I was there.
Thank you for that. We'll get that amended. We can go on to item 5 then, the annual pay policy statement. And Alison, if you could go through that, please.
Thank you, Chair. So morning members. So as members will be aware, the Fire Authority is required to publish a pay policy statement each year. This is a forward-looking statement. So this report covers off the period 2024-25 in terms of our pay policy statement. And Fire Authority have determined that the HR and Equalities Committee review and agree the content of the pay policy statement prior to it being presented to the full Fire Authority meeting for final sign-off. So the pay policy statement at Appendix 1 has been updated with some recent changes, and I'm going to highlight those changes to you now, but just what I haven't done is highlighted in a particular sort of colour or anything, so I'll take you through the sections individually so you can actually see what the changes are. So looking at Appendix 1, Section 4.4, so this is under the heading Principal Officers Pay Construct. As members will know, a report was presented to Fire Authority in September, which set out recommendations on Principal Officer pay. So what this section now reflects is a new pay matrix. So Section 4.4, there's clear linkage to the Chief Fire Officer's pay. The construct previously was different, so that's been updated to reflect the agreement reached in September. In Section 4.5, also the same, referenced the pay points and the approach of linking pay to the Chief Fire Officer's pay. Section 4.8, and also an update to the percentage link there. In Section 4.10, there's a new link to officers' pay. Over the page to Section 6.1, one of the other recommendations that the Fire Authority considered and agreed was a linkage of the corporate heads of service pay to the base pay for Green Book area managers. So there's a new Section 6.1 which confirms that decision reached and made at the Fire Authority meeting in September. And then I'm going to whiz you over to the appendix, so into Appendix 1. That appendix has been updated with the current salary levels for principal officers, area managers and corporate heads of service, and you will see the linkage between the heads of service for each of the corporate areas such as finance, corporate, HR and ICT is now reflective of the area manager B baseline salary, and that was a levelling up decision made by the Fire Authority. The only other comment I would make and just draw your attention to is paragraph 2.4 in the covering report. I've noted there that the policy statement should be an accurate reflection of the current situation at the point of publication. There is a typographical error there as regards the pay award for the pay award for Green Book staff had not been agreed at the point of issuing the papers. So just to let you know, on Friday we had notification that the Green Book pay award has now been agreed, and that will be implemented with November's salaries. What we will then need to do is update the figures in Appendix 4 of the pay policy statement, because what you will see currently, the header in Appendix 4 shows the salary levels for Green Book staff showing effective 1 April 2022. So we will update that appendix prior to this report going to full fire authority if members are in agreement. And that's as much as I wanted to say. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions of members? We could approve that report then, please.
Councillor Hughes is in debate.
Councillor Hughes?
Thank you very much, Chair. So just 2 points that I wanted to raise. The first one is on, I think it's on page 26 and 27, where the term honorarium is used. It's got a sort of generic term, really, isn't it? And I don't know whether that's the most appropriate term that we should be using now. Maybe instead we could consider some terms such as exceptional payment or whatever, because I think what honorarium seems to suggest to most people is that it's a voluntary payment, something completely, sort of not directly allied to salaried work. And there's an outdated assumption, I think, when you think of that term, that it's almost like a cash payment or not taxable. But actually, that's far from the case. This is part of the pay structure. So I just wanted to sort of put that to the meeting, Chair, if I could. The other question then is, as far as the on-call firefighters are concerned, I couldn't see on the appendices where there was a separate reference to this substantial part of our workforce. I assume that's incorporated in Appendix 2. But I think if we could just sort of tease that out a bit, because I understand that there's recently there's been a salary introduced for that group of personnel as well. So thanks for that, Chair. I'll wait to see what Alison responds.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Hughes. Yes, certainly we can look at the terminology used for the honorarium payments and maybe bring that into a more modern sort of word and reflection of what the payments are for. The on-call payment salary scheme is contained within Appendix 3 currently, and hopefully you've got that in your pack. But happy to add in any other further descriptor that would help readers understand the salary mechanism that we have, which is probably what you're alluding to, Councillor Hughes. You're on mute. Sorry, I missed that.
That's fine, Nelson. Thanks. I'll check that out. I can't do two things at the same time, so I'll look at that directly after the meeting. Thanks.
You, Councillor Hughes.
Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Matter of interest, on page 23, item 11, the employment of former employees. Many people coming back into the fire service?
No, not under those arrangements. So we've had the odd individual that has returned after a long break, but I wouldn't say they're probably regular numbers. No.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? No. Could somebody?
I move, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Seconded. Can second the report, please?
Yes, I second, Chair. I just checked my papers. For some reason, Appendix 3 was missing, so I think that's probably where the confusion arose.
Okay. Members, if we could go to the next item then. Update on the personal review process, and that's Lisa.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, members. So in terms of the personal review process, it was launched back in April 21 and we're currently in the second full year or second cycle. It's a managed digital system, so it supports our sustainability and our innovation ambitions. And in 2022-23, the services joint fire control room joined the process. You can see there's the percentage completion rates appear to have dropped year on year from 74% to 61.6%. However, there's been an increase in the numbers completing, so it's relative. We're pleased to report that over 2 years, conversations have increased from 1,526 to 2,022, so almost 500 additional conversations have taken place. A personal review survey was undertaken to assess the user or the customer experience. 79% of individuals reported the process was very helpful or helpful. 92% reported that it was beneficial, and 56% stated that it was extremely helpful in having those career conversations. Some of the feedback we had was it was great to hear the views of their manager and good for team development opportunities and individual development or career improvements. And some feedback we had was maybe to look to improve around less rigid questions, so more open-ended questions to have more meaningful conversations. Interestingly, we had a split. Some said it was too orientated towards uniform staff, and some said it was too orientated towards corporate staff. So I think there's a win-win situation there. In the spirit of continually improving, we're now going to consider that feedback and embed the learning to improve the processes going forward. And that concludes the update on personal reviews, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, members?
Councillor Carsey.
Councillor Carr?
Thank you, and thank you for the report, and well done for all the work that's been done on this. It was really helpful to have the explanation on the drop-offs. Sorry, not the drop-offs, the lower percentage, just to be accurate there. I also want to say well done for the kind of involving people and getting the feedback on this. I'd be really interested to know a little bit more about where people haven't participated, what have been the barriers to that, which I believe you are looking at, but it would be really good to get some feedback to the committee at some point on that. And also from equalities and inclusion perspective as well, really keen to just get a little bit more of a breakdown around where this is having a positive or otherwise impact for people in terms of supporting people in their careers. So a little bit more information from equalities and inclusion as well going forward. But thank you for the report.
Thank you, Kate. I'm sure that can be arranged.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other member? No? Could we note the report then, please? All agreed? Yeah. Thank you. If we could go on to item 7 then, the strategic equality plan.
Good morning, members. So I'm just here to report sort of what the last 8 months has entailed in regards to the strategic equality plan to 23 to 26. Essentially, it's just some updates for each key area of the SEP, which covers the 6 service equality objectives. So I'll focus on the key areas, just to give you a bit of a highlight of what's been happening. So in terms of our services and infrastructure, we have updated the equality impact assessments. So the old integrated assessment wasn't really working that well. We had some trouble with completion rates. So using guidance from the other Welsh Fire and Rescue Services as part of the All Wales EDI group and some guidance from other public bodies as well, that has been redesigned. The guidance for completing those is now embedded, which also includes references to where to consult and encourages collaboration for completion. There's now a risk assessment and users that are required to complete also asked to provide mitigating actions to reduce risk. So this was trialed. It's been trialed since May. Completion rates have increased quite significantly. So we're now awaiting final sign off for further rollout across the organisation. In terms of culture, overall, there's been generally more kind of queries and guidance actually being sought from the inclusion team relating to things like titles, hairstyles, facial hair, uniform, all different bits and pieces. The inclusive workforce group has grown, so we've seen 3 additional members, both union and non-union, joining the group. So the purpose of the group is to provide some steer and consultation, and each member champions a particular area, so race, LGBT, Q, mental health, and neurodiversity. Talking of neurodiversity, the Neurodiversity Partner Network has also increased by 4 members since launch. We have received around 52, not including this week's referrals. So individuals that have accessed support from the service regarding neurodiverse conditions. There have been some themes. So there's been some challenges around sort of being distracted by noise, sound, things like that. Worries around failure in terms of study and work, and also work-life balance. There is plans to complete some training in conjunction with Cardiff Gate training staff in January for those who have requested additional help in communicating with those who have neurodifferences. So that's a really positive thing. And finally, in regards to people, there's been generally more coordinated approaches to different things in relation to equality. An example of that has been the recent Black History Month campaign. In April, we introduced 2 mandatory e-learning modules for all staff, unconscious bias and inclusive language. So since April 23, 81% of staff have completed the unconscious bias and 73% have completed the inclusive language. There's also an additional inclusive leadership module that supervisory leaders and above are required to complete. The completion rate isn't as high for this one, it's 68%, so there is going to be some more work to be completed around why that is. Just in general, the inclusion team has grown. So we've got an additional member of staff, Matthew, who's here. Matthew is our EDI officer and has been contracted for 2 years to help embed this work, implement actions from the Inclusive Action Plan, and obviously any recommendations from the cultural review. I think we mentioned the Inclusive Action Plan previously. We will provide you with further information on that at a later date, but just to let you know, it runs parallel to the Strategic Equality Plan and contains a set of actions essentially to make sure that we are meeting those strategic equality objectives over the next 3 years. Yeah, open for any questions.
Thank you, Sharice. Welcome, Matthew.
Yeah.
It's pleasing to note that more people are coming forward seeking advice and guidance. Any member?
Carr and then Councillor Hughes.
Councillor Carr.
So again, thank you for this really important piece of work. I wondered whether it might be possible to provide us with a list of the external partners that are part of the consultation and input into the document. And I wondered if it would be possible for you to just say a little bit more now around alignment with, we've got this big piece of work coming out in terms of the culture review, and an awful lot of necessary overlap between these 2 things. So it would just be good to hear a little bit more about how that's going.
I mean, the overall, the Inclusive Action Plan, if I just give you a little bit of a very brief background, essentially covers the service's legal duties and ethical responsibilities and best practice. So that includes things like the public sector equality duty, the anti-racist Wales action plan, LGBTQ action plan, the recommendations from His Majesty's Inspectorate as well. Essentially, in terms of overlap, what we'd be looking to do is, as we're embedding these, once the recommendations come through, is to see whether there's any crossover, and essentially, if there's anything that we need to add in, we will obviously add in as needed. Sorry, did you ask to have a list of the external partners that collaborated? Yeah, no worries. We can forward that on.
Thank you. Thank you. We all look forward to our report. It is being finalised at the moment. Councillor Hughes.
Thanks, Chair. I think generally on Appendix 1, it'll be good if we can see some improvement in the non-disclosure rates of some of these questions that are being asked. And I would think that over time, I think as staff get more confident in the process, I'd expect that would increase. Just a point, I think it's about presentation really. It's on page 66 where we've got the staff demographics, and there's a table there showing the age ranges. If you check, I think we're missing 2 age groups, the 50s to 55s, and also the 60 to 65. So I think it's probably just a question of updating that to make sure that that's addressed before publication.
Yes, I'm sure that can be done. Thank you. Any other member? No? If we could note the report then, please. Okay, all in favour? Thank you. If we could go on to the next one, which is the update on pathways. Lisa?
The Pathway project commenced in 2020, and the intent or the objective around the project was to build the skills, the knowledge and the capabilities across the organisation. The cornerstone of Pathways approach is the personal review that I talked about earlier, which is used for the identification of individuals ready to progress onto a Pathways programme. A training needs analysis was conducted to determine what was needed at each level of the pathways. But it's important to note that it can also be used for individuals that want to grow within their role and not necessarily be seeking promotion. So the idea being there's some form of development for all. There's a blended approach, so it's a mix of face-to-face and online learning to accommodate different learning styles. The levels were launched in April 23, again supported by online and intranet support, with dedicated pages of resource available for individuals to access. And as of now, 4 of 5 of the levels have been launched, with leading the service, which is aimed to be launched from spring next year. So since the launch in April 23, we've had 18 promotional events running 2 weekly awareness sessions over a 9-week window, which has been a mix of face-to-face and online. The outcomes on progress, the service has a coordinated approach to training. We've had some great feedback. It includes skill sets and support service to reduce risk in our communities we serve with a well-educated workforce. Again, that concludes the update for today. And if there's any questions on Pathways.
Any questions? I believe it's giving our employees more confidence as well along the way. So any member? Oh. If we could note this report then, if there's no further questions. Okay, all in favour? Thank you, members. If we could go on then to the forward work programme.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just conscious that there's a lot in the March and I think probably the key here will be very clear on requests of members and what decisions we need members to take. So I think the March agenda is looking pretty full at the moment, but that's as much as I would want to say.
Thank you. Any questions on the forward work programme? No? It's fine, and there's no other
Councillor Carr's indicating.
Councillor Carr.
It's okay, Chair, actually, we can pick it up as part of the agenda planning at a future point. Apologies.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you, members. There's no other business. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.